So I bring on my friend Nick Wright, host of First Things First. Mahomes signs this deal, and this is you are in heaven. You cannot wipe the smile off your face today. This is amazing for you, right? You're going to party like it's 19, well, whatever year it is.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to party, but for my hometown, Kansas City, I think yesterday might have been the greatest sports day ever. Greater than either World Series, greater than either Super Bowl, because unlike your foolish assertion that this is only going to lead to one more, yesterday guaranteed that we're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 more parades in Kansas City. And so, we're not getting ahead of the moment here, Colin. People are like, oh, will the Chiefs be a dynasty? They were, as you mentioned, a coin flip away from already being a dynasty, a D Ford offsides away from already being a dynasty. When I first started coming on with you 4 years ago, Colin, I kind of made, my bit with you was I always threw numbers at you, and I've kind of strayed from that. I want to go back to it. Here are some numbers. Patrick Mahomes has played 36 games in his career. He has had a fourth quarter lead in 34 of them. Patrick Mahomes, FS1's newest hire, Emmanuel Acho, pointed this out yesterday. It's a brilliant stat. He's never been blown out. He's never lost a pro football game by more than 7 points. And in the biggest moments, those big wins, only your patron saint Tom Brady, of all players in NFL history, have more double-digit playoff comebacks than Mahomes, and he's only played in 5 playoff games. How can you think anything other than the Chiefs are going to win a minimum of 2, if not 3 or 4 more Super Bowls, now that they locked up the most talented player the league's ever seen for 3 presidential terms? So, I'm over the moon on this one, confirmed.
Okay, so I said to start my show, companies don't like the word precedent. They don't like to give a big contract here because it means they got to pay there. And I'm like, Howard Stern, Michael Jordan shoe deal, it's their own market. Patrick Mahomes is doing stuff. I mean, it was bumpy for Peyton Manning, Brady, Bradshaw, Aikman, Fouts. Nobody was great early. I don't think it affects Dak's negotiation. Maybe I'm totally naive here. Does it affect Dak's negotiation? Because I'm reading a story this morning. Everybody's like, oh, leverage for Dak. I don't see it. Do you?
No, this one I totally agree with you on. And I think it's a cop-out for organizations when they say, we don't want to set a precedent. Well, sometimes the precedent is, if you're the best in the world, you have special rules. Like this is, to mix metaphors a bit, not to make you feel uncomfortable, but, it's written about in the trades. About every 4 years, I get the pleasant surprise of reading somewhere about Colin Cowherd's latest contract negotiations. I've never once read those and been like, hey, agent, call Fox. They've set a new precedent. Because I'm like, oh, probably different rules for us here. So if Dak reads this and he's like, hey, looks like I should have $450 million, well, maybe you should accomplish 1/5 of what Mahomes has accomplished. And no one on the Chiefs is going to go, I believe, to management and say, look at what you gave Patrick. Why can't I have it? The answer is because you're not as good, you're not as valuable, you're not as young, you're not as important. Stop it. So, I totally agree that for special cases, you make exceptions. I used to live in Houston. They had a precedent. They never negotiate with 2 years left on a contract. You know what they broke that for? J.J. Watt. You know why? Because he was the best defensive player in the league 3 years into his career, so they needed to. That didn't set a precedent for the rest of the team. It was an exception for an exceptional person.
You said something about a year ago, and I thought, oh, Nick, that's a little much. You were like, listen, this guy's a Hall of Famer, Mahomes. And I'm like, God, he's played an hour. But it is interesting. So 2 starting years, MVP, Super Bowl MVP. You get to a point in your life.
He's already a Hall of Famer. He's already won, Colin. That's the answer. If he never plays again, he's a Hall of Famer.
Do we have? Is there a comp? Sandy Koufax, but he played 6 years.
No. Yeah, I mean Gale Sayers, but no, I don't think there's a comp. But as far as what he's accomplished, if he were to walk away, which obviously he's not, he's already a Hall of Famer. I saw when Joy was talking about the Fox Bet odds, one of the questions is he going to be in the Hall of Fame? I think it's minus 300. Yeah, the answer is yes. He doesn't have to do anything else ever, and he's a Hall of Famer. And you can say he hasn't played long enough. At some point, like, there's two ways to make the Hall of Fame. One is to compile excellence over time. The other is for the star to burn so incredibly bright that it's undeniable. He had a near perfect first 2 seasons in the league. He's played in 5 playoff games. They've had the lead with a minute left in all 5 of them. And so, yeah, it's not will he be a Hall of Famer. I think the more interesting question is, if he decided to retire today, would he be a Hall of Famer? And my answer to that is unequivocally, absolutely yes.
Now, I'm going to ask you to do something. You're going to get very uncomfortable. Is there anything? Now, we know an injury could derail it. So let's just take out injuries. And by the way, I can't even think of a quarterback off the top of my head that was an all-time great, got hurt and his career ended. So, quarterbacks can, even if he had a bad knee, he'd get through games and play. Is there anything, though, that you just a little tinge of, let me throw one at you. Andy Reid retires, and they make a lousy choice.
That's it. So you nailed it. That is because it's not the NBA where you can overcome horrible coaching. Now, Mahomes obviously is in a great spot. He has a Hall of Fame coach. He has a future Hall of Fame tight end. He's got a great receiver. I don't think he needs all of those things to succeed. But in the NFL, I don't know. Well, we just saw it, and obviously Baker's not Mahomes. But you can't overcome Freddie Kitchens, right? And so if Andy Reid were 66 instead of 62, maybe the Chiefs could say to Eric Bieniemy, we will name you head coach in waiting right now. It'll be a maximum of 3 years. Stick with us, and then you get Mahomes through his prime. But because Reid's 62, and I don't think Bieniemy's going to sit around for 5, 6, 7 years. Now, when Andy Reid does retire, it becomes the most sought-after coaching job maybe ever in the NFL since Jim Mora was fired in Indy and they brought in Tony Dungy, I guess would be the precedent for that because Peyton Manning was there and we already knew he was great. But so they don't have to hire Andy Reid 2.0. But if they butcher it, then you are squandering a couple, 3 years of the prime. And can I ask you a question, Colin?
Sure.
Because I just mentioned Peyton Manning and it made me think of something. Right now, if you were a Chiefs fan, would you sign up if you could get Peyton Manning's exact career, full career, both teams, meaning 5 MVPs, 4 Super Bowl appearances, 2 victories? Now, keep in mind, he already has 1 MVP and 1 Super Bowl championship. So, or would you roll the dice and say, I want to see what comes? Because as a Chiefs fan, I would roll the dice. I would say, I don't want to be locked into that floor or ceiling. I want to roll the dice, but would you take the Peyton Manning career?
It's a really good question. The one thing Mahomes has is the best play designer in the NFL currently, Andy Reid. Peyton didn't have that, and the rules have all changed. So I would probably roll the dice and go Mahomes. Now, I say that. The one thing is those 2 Super Bowls, and I think that's amazing. If he could get 3 total, we're going to be saying he's the best quarterback of all time. He, Brady, Montana, best 3. But I will say the rule changes and Andy Reid, we're going to see multiple 45 to 50 touchdown years. That's not the league Peyton Manning played in. It's just not the league. So you can make the argument you'd roll the dice and take Mahomes.
And until we see that there's another quarterback in the AFC West, I think you said it, one of the great things to ever happen to Brady was Manning was in his division for a year and then the NFL realigned. And so Brady could always have the home playoff game, always win that division. I know, some people believe in Drew Lock. I don't. Derek Carr, we know what he is. We'll see what Justin Herbert is. I wasn't overly impressed with him at college. But until if he were in the same division as Lamar or the same division as Deshaun, that changes the math a bit. But right now, he's the only known quantity in his division, which is a huge asset for him.
Yeah, and here's another one. Andrew Luck retired. And it looks like Indy's got a really good GM and a really good coach. Andrew Luck's out. Hey, Brady got some breaks in this stuff. We can't deny that. Tom got some breaks. And, I mean, Mahomes, Andrew Luck retiring helped Lamar. It helped Deshaun. It helped a lot of people because they got a great GM who was going to put great players around Andrew Luck for a decade. All right, good. So I've never seen him happier. Nick Wright is literally living the American dream. He's just scheduling days off for parades at this point going forward.
It's great.
All
yeah,
right.
I'm going to have to get more wall space for the future championship newspapers behind me. That's the only concern I have right now.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.